just going to enter whatever information is required for y'all's card ordering. I can't recall if we did anything additional or special. This page is customizable. So if there are any fields here that you don't see on your page, you can go in and edit that, and I can walk you through that process. And really, you're just going to enter the required information. So what you would do is you would enter whatever vendor number we're using for this payment. As you can see, whenever I enter the vendor number here, it auto-populates in the last name field. Now, this is I guess the best practice you could say. You can edit this. MasterCard requires we have something in the first name and last name fields. These are virtual cards. We're typically not actually going to have a person's name there, so we just have to have something. Our internal process automatically puts virtual card in the first name field. You can edit that. As we've seen, the vendor number populates in the last name field, but you can edit that as well. We'll leave that here for time being. The vendor name field is a field you may not have open on your page. I like it being there, just so you can have a little bit more data that flows through for reporting purposes. The next area and a permanent field on here is the expiration date. Our best practice is to set these cards up for 1 month expiration. So what this would be is we're creating this card on November 14th, which is so difficult to believe. But what will happen if I pick December here, the card will expire on December 31st, 2018. So we call that 1 month. Basically, we don't count the current month. We will count the next full month. I'm going to select one transaction, and that when the vendor runs the card, they have to run the exact amount that's present on that card. We probably talked about this last time. There are really two reasons why we do this. First is it's going to mitigate fraud. Fraudsters will create will generate large numbers of card numbers. They will ding them for a penny. Whatever gets authorized, they will then use for their fraudulent purposes. Doing it this way will prevent that from happening. So if I go down here in the bottom underneath gross amount and create this card for $100, as this is set up, whoever runs this card, the vendor that runs the card, would have to run it for exactly $100, not a penny more, of course, but not a penny less. If that works well with your systems and with your vendors, this is what we recommend. The other reason why we recommend that is it's going to prevent your vendors from undercharging the card, from running it for $90 and then saying, oh, well, you didn't pay us the full amount. This is going to require that to happen. So again, for all of our customers, you have the ability to customize that. This is just our best practice.
Okay.
I'm going to hit the send email button, and I'm going to type in my email address here. This is going to be whoever's going to be receiving this card. So if you're sending this directly to the vendor, you'll type in their address there. So some of our customers, however, will have this sent to themselves, and then they will forward that email out. So again, that's one of those things that y'all would determine, but typically this would go directly out to the vendor.
Can you put in more than?
No, it's one email address only, unfortunately.
Okay.
What
and
will
then,
happen though? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, if we put in a vendor, is this tied to the enablement database? So, I put in my vendor number. Okay. All right.
It's not. It doesn't. It does. I wish it would auto-populate in. It does not, unfortunately.
Okay.
And what will also happen is the vendor would get the email, but whoever we have set up on your side to get copied on all these remittance emails, they'll also get a copy of it as well. So at least y'all would get a version of that email when it goes out.
Okay.
I've got a couple other fields here that are open and not required. And again, we've got that ability, and I can walk you through that screen here in just a second. And the gross amount, the amount that's going to be going on the card. You can build out multiple invoices if you want to. So if you've got one vendor that you need to pay on 3 separate invoices, you can build this out. We would send one email with all of the invoice information, with everything broken out for them. You do have this area down here on the bottom. I'm going to tell you best practice is leave this be. If you start going down to specifying what MasterCard group this can be used at, you don't know what group this may fall under for that acquirer or for this vendor. We recommend you just leave this wide open. The things that we put in place are going to prevent misuse and going to prevent fraud. I'm going to hit submit. Immediately, this card's going to generate. You see the little please wait bug right there. Update completed successfully, and my email has already arrived in my inbox. So this is what your vendor is going to receive. They're going to find out who this payment's coming from. They're going to get MasterCard number. They're going to get expiration date. They're going to get the security code that would be on the back of a physical plastic card. They're going to get the zip code. So pretty much everything that they need in order to run this card within their system, they're going to have. The one piece they're not going to get is the first 6 digits of that MasterCard. That's called the BIN number. For ConnectData, it is always 556766. I would assume Kimberly's already sent you some information about that to give to those vendors. If not, I think we've got something to send your way. It's always going to be 556766. So just make sure the vendors know that.
Does that BIN vary for ConnectData Direct? That was it. Which is fine, because this is different. We'd never issue it here.
Yeah, I mean, that would be a different method, yeah.
Okay, cool.
And then we've got all the payment information. We've got a little blurb we always put down here. We're going to recommend to the vendors that they run the card one time for the full amount. Attached to this email as well, attached to the email as well, we've got a CTX 820 file, just a flat text file that typically vendors can port into their accounting system and will help them do their reconciliation process on the back end. So I don't know how often people actually use this. It is here and available on every single one of our remits that go out. So that is the card creation process. This payment is truly live right now. We could go run this card and get a $100 payment. It's a pretty quick process. Yeah.
So if I have multiple invoices and I just add, and then the net amount per what was the value up at the very top? The amount for this card would just keep adding up, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
So if you had 3 invoices in here, each for $100, the full amount of the card would end up being $300.
Okay.
But the cool thing about it is they're going to see that information for each invoice at 100, 100, 100, and then the full amount of the card being 300. So should give them enough to know what's going on.
All right.
Yeah. So the next area I want to walk through, I want to kind of show you the whole customization piece for this screen, so you have the ability to go in here and edit this on demand if you need to. So I'm going to go back up here to Manage, Cards, and then Screen Setup. We'll pick the account code, we'll pick the customer ID, and hit Continue. From here, this is where I can choose what I want shown on the card order screen as well as what I want required. So by default, you all may not have the vendor name field on your version of ICD. If you want it there, you hit the box. If you want to require it, you hit the required checkbox. You can customize the field names. So if you wanted to rename the vendor name field something else, you could do that. I will let you know though, however, if you do that, it's not going to change that field name on the email that goes out to the vendor, nor will it change it within your reporting of ICD. So that really is strictly for whoever is going out and creating that card. So you may not have a desire to do that, completely up to you. As you can see, there are a lot of fields here. You're typically not going to use them all, but use the ones that are beneficial to you and that you may need for reporting purposes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that piece that can have that customization ability there. The next section I want to take you to is going in and looking at a card that's been created and seeing what we can change on the card. So I'm going to go over here to Manage, Cards, and then Search Virtual Card. This will take us into our specific card list. I'll hit Search. It's going to pull up an entire card list. At first, you're not going to have a lot of cards here. I will say, though, the more you use the more cards you create, that list is going to get rather large. I would recommend you use your sorts and your searches. So, if you're using some certain value, that vendor number for the last name field, tie this down to cardholder last name, enter that vendor number in, and then it's going to really modify and mitigate the number of cards that are present there on the screen.
Okay.
Let's go back. Tell you what, let me back out of here and go back into it again. Well, We'll look for cards that were created today, since it's wanting to fight with me a little bit. Year, month, day, format. Okay. Here we go. So this is the card that we just created. I can go into the card, and then I can see what I can edit here. So anything that would be physically punched on an actual card, we can't change. So name on card, we could not change. Card number, of course, we cannot change. Expiration date, we could not change. Anything else, though, we can. We do have that ability. So we can change the dollar amount. So let's say you create a card and you submit it out there for a certain amount of money. You would then be able to go out there and say, oh, okay, well, this needs to actually be for 120 bucks. Change it here, hit continue. That will then update it in our system. Then what you may want to do at that point is push this email out again. It's going to shoot an email back out to the vendor or whoever you put in this field with the updated amount on that card. So this is not something you're going to do all the time, but you do have that flexibility. Let's say you create this card for one swipe and exact amount, but the vendor says, hey, that's so large, we really need to break this down in two. Change the number of transactions and unflag the exact amount field. Continue, and then email the card back out again if you need to. You can change the status of a card. So let's say you've submitted something, then you want to pull that back. You don't want to pay them in that method, or you don't want them to run the card yet. Put it in block status and hit continue. That's going to prevent any authorizations from occurring on that card, and then you can go back at any time and reactivate the card. You can switch between active and block as many times as you want to. Let's say you've got a situation in which you have typed in the wrong email address in the vendor name field, which can happen when you manually enter cards in. What I would recommend doing is putting the card in stolen status and saving that. That's going to permanently kill this card. Just go out there and create a new card for that vendor. That one cannot, fraud and stolen cannot go back into active. They're red flagged, they're permanent statuses.
Okay.
If you want to go out and update invoice information or amount of your invoices, you can do that. Typically, that's not something that's done. And then if you ever want to find the 3-digit security code, you can hit security code. It's going to give that to you. So those are the things you can change. I will tell you, as soon as you make the change within ICD that interfaces into our mainframe, the amount of the card or whatever you've changed here immediately goes into play. So there is no delay, there's no lag time there, which is pretty nice. So we're going to confirm the changes that we're making. We hit submit, and we're done. We've done whatever it is we need to do at that point in time. Pretty simple, right?
Yeah. Okay. Coming back.
So the next area I'd like to at least show you is the real-time transactions history area. I like that, and I think that's important to know because you will have occasions in which a vendor's going to call you and say the card declined. They're going to say they didn't do anything wrong, but most of the time it is an error on their side. So I'm going to go to Manage, Transactions, Real-Time Transaction History, or you could put a quick link to this out on the main page. And then let's go down here and find some transactions. I think I have some in May. May take a little bit of research here, of course. Bear with me for one moment. Of course, that would just be too easy to have that at our fingertips. Okay, hang on one moment. Here we go. Sorry about that. Wrong year. Okay.
How far back does this go?
We can go back to September 14th, 2017 within the site, and you can do a date range search of 180 days.
Okay.
There we go. That was a lot of work to get there. So this is what real-time transaction history looks like. I have examples here of declined transactions, and these are some of the most common declines that we see our vendors run for our customers. The first example here is one of the most common that we see. It's an expiration date issue. So vendor ran the card, they keyed in the wrong expiration date. They had the email there, whatever point of sale system they're using, they keyed it in incorrectly. What you're going to see is expiration date error. Corrective action, verify the expiration date. Don't worry about the second part. Verify the expiration date. Now, what did the vendor key? We have that data over here on the left. So they keyed 0417. On this card, that was incorrect. The simple fix there is have the vendor go back and do it again, and it's going to work the second time as long as they enter it correctly. A couple other examples here. So we're going to go down here to the second one, and we're going to say this decline was must use full cycle amount. What happened here is they ran the transaction for less than the value of the card, but that exact amount flag was checked. Well, what did they run it for? $2. That was in some way, shape, or form less than the amount of the card. What should the vendor do there? Run the full transaction amount. You're going to see this one from time to time. You wouldn't think they'd want to underpay themselves, but they did.
All right.
The next decline is the same. Go ahead.
Okay. I was just saying, it doesn't show you what the actual amount for that card is.
So if we go out here to the main page and click on the card number, it's going to pull up something that shows you the amount that's on that card.
Okay. Perfect. Okay.
Which is nice. I kind of wish it was in the other screen where you could see it right there, but it's not too far to get there. The next decline that we're going to see is a credit issue. So something happened on this test account. It reached the credit limit, which we hope doesn't happen, but this is the situation we would see there. You'll just want to get a hold of us if you ever see the error code 75, call credit department. And the other very common decline that we see, transaction amount limit exceeded. They ran the card for more than what the card was good for. So they ran it for $10.51. I can back out and see the card was actually good for $10.50. So they tried to cheat a little bit and get a little bit of extra money. So those truly are the most common ones we see. Yes, ma'am.
So they've run it and it's declined. They'll get that message back right away, right?
Yeah, so on their side, they're going to get declined. They're probably not going to get anything else. That's when they're going to call you and say, oh, this card, whatever happened. You will see this immediately. So this is truly real time. As soon as we either get the authorization or we send back a decline, it populates in our mainframe and we push it out to ICD instantaneously.
And, hey, Philip, this is Kimberly. Just to add some color, I think we know that our virtual card support service team is we're hoping that that's who the vendor calls, since that's what will be listed on the remit if they do get this decline, but it's helpful for you guys to know in case they call you directly, or Julia or anybody internally at BDC.
Right. So if they did decline, did key in something incorrectly and it declined, they'll get the message back that it was declined, and then if they realize they fat fingered it in, they can immediately re-off, right?
Exactly. Even though we've opened up the card for one transaction, a declined transaction does not count against that. So they can go in there and immediately do it again.
All right, great.
Yeah. So the last piece I've got on my agenda to walk through is the reporting section. We give you a lot of data back, and we've got these e-payables specific reports that were built out a few years ago for our customers. So I'm going to go up to your reporting, report queue, and quick reports. This is an example of a test account that has both physical plastic cards as well as virtual cards. So you're not going to see all of these reports. There are a few that have a lot of value. My favorite personally is the corporate payments account spend report. It's a great month-end report that will show you total spend. It's going to show you average spend, number of cards created, rebates once the rebate report gets pushed out each month, top vendors, where your money's going to. It's a PDF. It's a great one, full color, to print out and have available to kind of look at the success and the status of the program. And then where you're really going to spend your time at is the e-payables module down here. So the ones we're going to give you, the e-payables virtual card listing, you can run this report by date ranges, by vendor numbers, however you want to kind of specify down, or if you just want to see the full list of all virtual cards created, that's a great report for that. The transaction listing is going to show you every single transaction that has authorized and posted during whatever period you want to look at. You want to look it up. Typically, our customers use this per billing period, per billing cycle. However, you need to reconcile your books. This is, in my opinion, and Kimberly, I would imagine that you agree with me, this is the best way to reconcile.
Yes, they are going to do automated via AC29. But if they had to look, this definitely would be it for reconciling manually.
Exactly. We're going to give you a lot of transactional data there. So if you want to look up anything that came through, we're going to give you that. Outstanding card report. This one is wonderful. Since y'all are using the virtual card support services team, this is really what they're using to go out there and make sure your vendors are running the cards. Now, we send reminder emails at 3, 5, and 10 days. I believe it is after card creation to remind your vendors to run their card. Once they run it, we stop the reminders. But this would also be a way that you could go out there and look on demand at who has not run the card. You know, we created this card a week ago. Who hasn't done it? So you have the ability to go out there and see this data by card creation date. It gives you really good information back. There is a blocked and expired card report where you can go out there and you can see every card that you have manually blocked in ICD or any card that has changed to an automated expired status and get information on those transactions. I skipped over the invoice detail report. This one would give you all of the invoice information that you enter whenever you go out and create cards, if you need to take and do anything with that data. There is a reconciliation report. I personally find, actually, you're not going to use that because you're using the AC28, but I like the transaction listing better. I think it gives us more data back. But that's typically the reports our customers use. There's also going to be the rebates report that gets pushed out there on the 12th day of every month, so you can see that information. In the virtual card world, we don't really have to worry about disputes, but there is a dispute report that is available. If you ever have the need to dispute a transaction, which again in virtual card is very, 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 very seldom, you would do that on that real-time transaction history screen. So you would wait till a transaction gets posted, you click a button, and you tell us why you're disputing the transaction, and we begin the process of handling that dispute. So those are really the that y'all are going to see.
Is there a cheat sheet with all the kind of Philip's favorite reports?
There is not. I mean, we can write something up for you if we need to. But really, I mean, like I said, you're in your level of access, you're going to see the corporate payments account spend report and the e-payables reports. You're not going to see all this other stuff. So you won't have that level of butter. But yeah, we can sure write up something for you.
Yeah, maybe like what you've recommended. That might be helpful.
Yep, I can do that.
All right.
Taking a note right now. And then the other thing that I would point, I always like to make sure we point out to our customers is how you pay your bills. So what's y'all's payment method? Are y'all doing ComData, ACH, or what are we doing?
We're actually doing reverse wire. For their dog food account though, they're going to pre-fund. Okay,
got it. So there is underneath the payment center, there's a My Invoices area. That's where you would go pull that consolidated invoice, which is truly the bill. Not as big of a deal because with pre-funded, you're putting money on the account, which you could use to see when we apply those funds. But it's going to be your bill. It's going to show all posted transactions. Another very, very important thing with your pre-funded to make sure we have received and applied your funds out here on the main page, there's the credit summary tab. You would want to go in, type in the account code, and then you would see right here, the actual verbiage is going to change, and it's going to show you how much you have funded on your account, what your level of funds are. the last amount we got and the last time that we've received funds from you. So the verbiage will change here on those pre-funded accounts to kind of give you a little bit more information.
Is the
Very
account
important to monitor that.
a real time?
Yes. So as soon as it hits our mainframe, that gets pushed out to ICD automatically.
Okay, so this would be equivalent to the MasterCard. So the MasterCard settlement reports are coming in, and then as they're processed, ICD reflects the balance.
Yes.
Until
that is correct.
right.
I would, Adrian, I'd recommend you guys just use the preview reports because this is only going to be specific to your actual credit limit, and because of how we have things set up for you guys daily, this will only show what's available in your credit, but won't account for the different when we're accounting because you guys are going to be paying really ahead of the invoice. So I would suggest using that instead of this. But if you ever wanted to just see available credit here, you could look here. Does that make sense? This won't account for everything else that's included in the preview report.
Yeah. Okay. That's fine. Yep.
Thank you, Kimberly.
No problem.
And then the last area is if you ever forget how to do something, there's a resource center that will walk you through how to complete that task. So if you forget how to order a card, we've got a 1 to 5 page document that walks you through that. And in some instances, we've got a video that walks you through it.
Okay.
If you hire somebody new and you want them to kind of learn ICD, there's a video for that. So there's a lot of quick steps and walkthroughs that will show you how to complete that task. This does have every single product that Comdata holds. So what you're probably going to want to do if you ever go to the Resource Center is go up here and click on Virtual Payments. That's going to get us specifically to the documents that affect your account.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Well,
All
is
right.
there anything else that you'd like to see?
No, I think I'm good to give it a try. I'll wait for Kimberly, your instructions on how to send that money to you guys. And then I'll wait for that transmission to go through before we create a card.
Okay. Adrian, we did send that to Colleen yesterday. I just think there were a few more questions with your email yesterday on doing the one account code versus the second one. So I'll touch base with Rebecca and we'll send you a confirmation email when all is good. And I can forward you the email with the instructions too that we sent. I think she sent that yesterday or Monday. What was that?
Was that for the wire?
Correct.
Okay. I mean, could we do an ACH?
You could do an ACH. You could do either. We only sent, I think Colleen only requested the wire instructions, but you could do an ACH if you didn't want it to post immediately. So yeah, we could send you both instructions if you want that.
Yeah, if you could. I think it's, aren't they cheaper than wires?
They are. They are cheaper.
Yeah.
It just takes longer to post. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't create the card until the money clears.
Right.
So
okay.
I think we'd be okay with that. And this is just like an offline process, as I explained, so it won't be the BAU for post MVP, because MVP, we're able to just leverage the existing FBO and everything will work out, and that's something we learned yesterday. So thanks for doing all the work to set up the second one. I don't know if you guys have actually got finished. I can't remember, but we can keep it for later. As this program extends, we may need another account, but for the time being, everything can go through the one account code custody.
I think we may have some questions on this on our side with that news that you're saying now you guys want to go back to just keeping the one. We have an internal discussion on it, so I'll get back to you to confirm that everything is good. We had already started down the path of doing the two as it related to the welcome emails and some of the other custom things we were putting in place. So I will talk to Rebecca just to make sure that everything's good to give you that final confirmation. That's why we haven't responded back to your email either.
Okay. No, that's fine.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. No, this is super helpful. Thank you, both of you. thank you, Philip, for doing this again with us.
No problem. And if you need anything, if you have any questions in the middle of your process, just give me a call. I'll be glad to walk you through.
All right, cool. Thanks again.
You, Appreciate it. Okay, you too. Bye-bye.